Hello everyone, this is Manohar Reddy, Department of Cybersecurity, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today I am going to explain you the concept of data control language commands and queries. So simply, formally it is called as DCL queries, DCL commands. So data control language commands and data control language queries. So what is meant by data controlling actually? So how we can control the data with the help of some commands. So data control language or data controlling language is one such a type of query language that allows users to retrieve and edit the data held in the database. So in the database we are creating different types of tables. In the database we are creating different types of tables, but all the tables are inserted the data. So with the help of the different commands we are going to insert the data, and with the help of different commands we are going to retrieve the data. But this DCL or data controlling language is a query language that allows users to retrieve and edit. So users can able to read the data as well as users can able to edit the data which is already available in database. So there are different types of commands are there, but particularly the commands which are popular in database are grant command, grant and revoke command, grant and revoke command. So what is meant by grant command actually? So grant command gives the privileges to access them. So grant command, here user access privileges to a database are given by this command. So user can able to access the data, user can able to access the data by granting this command, by granting this user. So suppose an administrator can create the users, multiple users. Similarly, administrator gives the permission to the particular users, So if any user wants to see the data or edit the data, then that user must be privileged to view the data or privileged to edit the data. User must be privileged. That means he has to be granted privileged to view the data, or privileged to edit the data. So that means he must be granted to access the data. So administrator can create more than one users. Administrators can create the users, delete the users, and granting permissions to the users also. And similarly, he can apply permissions to the specific users, and he can deny the permissions to the specific users also. So assign all these privileges, to giving access about these all privileges to the particular users, an administrator takes an important role to give the privileges. So for that, there are different types of commands are there. So the first one is what? Commit. Commit saves the data permanently store. Commit saves the data to be stored permanently. So that the entire data or table data must be stored permanently after committing the data, after committing the table, or after committing the data. So before committing, the data could not be stored permanently. But whenever you type commit command after performing any operations, then that commit data will be saves permanently in the database. Then that commit data will be saves the data in permanently. And next one, connect. So connect indicates that what the connect command is connecting both users to this SQL window, user to SQL window or command prompt window. And a grant for the database privileges, and a grant for the sequence privileges. So granting is nothing but what? Giving the access to the particular user about to some sort of roles like inserting role, like edit role, update role, delete role, like the way. and grant sequencing privileges. And similarly lock table, then if any table is locked, then the table is not not able to perform different types of commands. And revoke, so revoke database privileges, so whatever the database privileges applied for the granting, then it privileges are revoked again to the particular user. So we can roll back the privileges from that particular user. And similarly revoke sequence privileges. And commit. So rollback operation performs if and only if the data is not to be committed. So rollback is nothing but what, to get back your data to the original position or to get back your data from the previous state. So before committing operation, you can able to roll back the data, but after commit the data, you are not able to roll back your data. So to do this all the commands, all the operations, a user must be privileged. Administrator. So if the database administrator provides an access to the particular user, then he can able to view the data, he can able to edit the data, he can able to delete the data, he can able to perform all the query operations. So here the data control language or DCL consists of the statements that control security and concurrent access to table data. Specific data or table data. So here the commit. So the first one is what? Commit. It instruct the database server. It gives the instruction to the database server to make permanent all data changes resulting from DML statements executed by transaction. So whenever you started the transaction performing any DML statements, after the performing DML statements, you need to make the changes to be permanent. Then the compiler instructs to the server to commit the data. Now, after doing all these DML statements, if you perform the commit operation, then the data performed by all DML statements should be stored permanently. The data should be stored permanently. The next connect operation is connect command. So it connects the application process or user to designated server or DB2 location. So it connects the application process or user to designated server or DB2 location. This location becomes the current location for the application process or user. So it connects what? It connects the current user account, or it connects the user account to the server. That is where exactly the server is located, exactly the user is located. So it identifies or it connects the server to the database or server to the user. The next, grant. So database privileges. It assign access privilege to the server users or application. So it given access to the particular server or users to the applications. The grant. So grant privileges on a user defined sequence. So it applies privileges to the specific users and based on their defined sequence operations. Next, lock table. So lock table, it extends database servers automatic record and table level locking functions. So automatic record and table level locking functions by in a multi-user operating system by acquiring explicit locks on a particular table. And revoke, so revoke database privileges, so cancel access privileges for database server, users or applications. So it revokes the permissions for the database server from the users. It cancels the access privileges for database server, users or applications. The next, revoke sequence privileges. Revoke sequence privileges. So revokes the privileges on a user defined sequence. So it revokes the privileges. That means roll back the permissions, roll back the privileges from the users on user defined sequence. On user defined sequence. The next, rollback. So it instructs the database server to reverse the effect of any DML commands executed on a database by transaction. So it gives the reverse of the data, reverse the effect of any DML commands executed. That means whenever you perform the DML commands after starting the transaction, if you cannot perform any commit operation, then you can able to roll back your data by maintaining save point mechanism. So here the rollback command is instructing the server to reverse the effect of any DML commands executed on database. So information recorded in a backward log. Information recorded in a backward log is used to restore the database to state existing before the transaction. So information should be recorded in a backward log. So the log is recorded. Log is maintaining a record. It is used to restore the database. To a state existing before the transaction. To a state before executing the transaction. Unlock the table. Unlock table. So it removes the table logs. That means whenever you applied a log for the table, so it unlock table is used to remove all that logs. So here removes table logs. That means in your multi-user systems, remove table logs acquired with the lock table command. So whatever the tables are locked by the lock table command are to be removes the table locks, or to be removes to the table locks by using this unlock table. So here the DCL commands presence in SQL are what? One is grant and the second one is revoke. So grant is a DCL command used to grant. That means granting is nothing but what? Give access to security privileges to specific database users. Those who are accessing the database, those who are wanted to become as an user of the database, can have the security privileges to that accessing the database. And it is mostly used to restrict user access to inserting, deleting, selecting, updating, executing, altering, or to provide privileges to users data. So they are providing strictly access on performing DML operations, or they can provide strictly deny rules to performing these inserting operations, DML operations. So that is the granting privileges or giving access to the particular users or security privileges to specific database users. So that is the command which is used for granting or giving the access to the specific database users. And revoke. Here revoke is a DCL command that is used to revoke the permissions or access. So whatever the permissions we are giving to the particular users, or whatever the access we are giving to the particular users to perform DML operations, they are granted. So that via the grant command is going to be rollback, is going to be revoke, is going to be rollback, or is going to be revoke. And it is mostly used to revert back to the time when no access was specified. So it should be revert back to that particular time then no access was specified. That is withdrawing the permission that was authorized to carry out specific tasks. that was authorized to carry out a specific asks. So that means a particular user has to be specified with a particular access, then he can able to access the data. But whenever you want to roll back the data, if and only if that granting access, the giving access has to be roll back again, the giving access to be roll back again. So at that moment we can roll back the data, we can use to roll back or revoke the data. We can roll back or revoke the data. So syntax for writing grant command. So how can we write the syntax? How can we write the syntax with the grant command? So here we need to write the grant command followed with the privileges. Followed with the privileges. What privileges you are going to applying on what object name? So here the privileges mentioned that what type of privileges you want to give the user, you want to grant to the user. So what type of privileges you can use, you can perform, you can give select as a privilege, you can use insert as a privilege, you can use update as a privilege, or you can use delete as a privilege. So applying this all as a privileges to privilege on what object name. So the object name is what, either table, object name is what, either table or either view or either index, must be specified. So an object name is what, table name, you can must be specified. To user or role, so what type of user, what the role you are going to give. So is that user, so either user is what db1 user or db2 user or user1 or user2. So on particular process, particular person. And similarly the way of revoking the command syntaxing is the same as like granting. So but only the thing is what, you need to apply revoke. So here the revoke is command. So what privileges you want to revoke, what privileges you want to revoke. So you want to revoke the select permission, or you want to revoke the insert permission, or you want to revoke the update permission, or you want to revoke the delete permission. So revoke that privileges, so either select or insert, revoke them on what object name. So you want to revoke all the permissions on table name, what table name you want to revoke them. From user or roles, from user or role. So from what user you want, what user on for, from what user you want to revoke your privileges. So either user 1 or user 2 or db1 or db2. So from what user you are going to revoke the privileges, and for what user you are going to give an access specific permissions. So that is the way of writing syntax of grant command and syntax of revoke command. So here explanation, that is the privileges. The privileges here refers to the insert, delete, select, update, execute, alter, all reference privileges. So reference privileges permits a user to declare foreign keys while creating relations, and all options provided by SQL. So here from the syntax we are mentioning that what privileges are nothing but what, these insert, delete, select, update, these are all DML operations we have to give as a privileges. And the next object name. So object could be anything amongst table or view or functions. Among these all you can take either one as an object name. And user or role. So roles are the users to whom the privileges are granted or revoked. So to whom you are going to granting or giving the privileges, to the user, or to whom, from whom you want to revoke the privileges or users. Privileges roll back your privileges. So this is the privileges, object name, users. These three are must be specified while performing this grant and revoke options. Grant and revoke action. So without this, without having the privileges, you cannot able to perform that grant option and revoke option, because you need to take a part of this to perform both granting and revoking for these two. And here examples. So we can have the examples like what, give access to select and insert in the database to Icona. So give access to select and insert operation. We are going to performing what? We are going to take a privileges select and insert as a privileges. So select and insert are the two privileges. So we need to perform this. We need to apply privileges on what object name? On product detail as an object name. So product underscore detail is the table name. So that is nothing but object name. That is the table name. That is nothing but object name. To whom? To whom the user is what? To whom? Icona. So icona is nothing but user or role. So now here we are granting the privileges called select and insert on object name is what? Product underscore detail to the user name called icona. So now you can giving the granting the permissions, granting the privileges to this icona on this table to perform what? To perform only select and insert operations. If you want to give all the privileges, then gives all privileges access to ANSI. So now ANSI is the user who will have the access to see all the permissions. Then apply like what? Grant all privileges on what table? On product underscore stock table. On product underscore stock table. To whom? To ANSI. So to ANSI. So here the user to user ANSI, we are granting the administrator granting all the privileges. But to the icona administrator privileges only select comma insert privileges. So two privileges are applied to the user icona. All the privileges are applied to the user called ANSI, and gives all privilege access to anybody working with database. Then we can mention that what? Public. So here the particular user we are applying privileges, but here we are applying all privileges to all the users. That is nothing but all the public. So here we mention that what? Grant all on product underscore stock. So this is the table name on product underscore stock to whom? To users who called public. To public. So like the way we can granting the privileges to the particular user. We can granting the privileges to the particular user. So granting two operations to the icona user. Here granting all privileges to the ANSI user. Here granting all privileges to all the users. So like the way we can granting the access or giving the access to particular users. And revoke examples. So how can we revoke? So there in the previous example we know that what? The select and insert operations and access given to the icona user, all privileges given to the ANSI, all privileges given to all public also. So how can we revoke them from granting? So same syntax we have applied here. That what? Revoking what? Revoke select and insert operations. So select comma insert are both privileges. So we are revoking these two privileges. On what table? On product table. So here product is the product table name. From whom? From which user? From the user is what? Icona. So now after performing this operation, this query, we revoke all the data from this icona user. Now similarly return all access from ANSI. So from ANSI also we can return all the privileges. So how? So revoke all privileges on product underscore stock. On what table? Product underscore stock. From which user? From ANSI user. So we already applied all privileges to ANSI user on product underscore stock. Now we revoking all the privileges from this ANSI. The next retains access from anybody using the database. So given given access to all the users for all the privileges. So at that moment all the privileges have to be revoked, means revoke all on product underscore stock from which user, from all the users. So like the way we can revoke the data from users on different tables with the help of different queries. So this is the way about revoking the permissions or privileges from the users. So to do this all, to granting and to revoking all the users, we have to create what? We have to create the user. We have to create the users. So how we can create the users actually? So yeah, administrator can give an option to creating the user. So how can we create the user? So create user followed with what? Followed with the username, followed with what? Username at the rate localhost. This is the localhost as the username, identified by the password, identified by password. So here this is the syntax. So create user and the username is what? Username at the rate localhost, identified by password, identified by password. So now example, create user, the username is what? User1, which is identified by the password name is also what? User1. So now the user1 is created. So the now user1 is created. So to see the list of users in database, select user from mysql.user. Select user from mysql.user. So if I type this command, I can revoke, I can retrieve all the users from this database. And if you want to see the current user, so who is the current user, then you can write like select current underscore user. Select current underscore user is the command to see the current user. So like the way to performing that all the grant and revoke operations, you must be create an user which is created by an administrator, which is created by an administrator. So administrator only have the rights to create users, and he can able to give the permissions, give the privileges to the user, as well as same revoke the privileges from the users also, revoke the privileges from the users also, from the users also. So this is the way of creating users and see list of users in database and to see current users. So this is the way of creating user. Once again we revise the topic which we discussed in this session. So here in this session we discussed about the basic DCL commands. So what is meant by DCL? Data controlling language, and they are having different types of commands like commit, connect, grant database privileges, grant sequence privileges, lock table, revoke, and revoke database privileges, revoke sequence privileges, and rollback. So administrator can create the users to give the permissions to the particular user or not. So your user must be privileged with different types of DML commands, with the help of different DML commands. So here there are commands like commit, connect, grant with the database privileges, and grant normal, and lock table, revoke database privileges, revoke sequence privileges, rollback, unlock table. These are all the different types of commands that are applied as a DCL commands. DCL commands. So the main important DCL commands are what? Grant and revoke. So grant command is used to granting the privileges to the specific database users or giving access to the specific database users. And similarly revoke is a DCL command that is used to revoking the permissions or revoking the privileges from the user, which is already granted. So they can revoke the permissions from the user. So here the syntax for writing the grant command. So how can we write the granting command or revoking command? So the must specify what a grant we must specify. Then next we must specify privileges. What type of privileges we want to granting. on what you are going to granting them on table name. So what is the table name? Object name. So on what object name you are going to granting the privileges, on what user, to what user, to what user you are going to granting the permissions. Similarly, syntax for revoking. So the same thing here. Instead of using grant, we can revoke. We can write the revoke as a command, and on is same as, and instead of to we can use it as a from. Instead of to we can use it as a from. The same user or role will be applied. So that is the way of syntax for writing granting and revoke command. So here explanation. The privileges are nothing but what? All the DML operations, and object name is represent what? Tables or views or functions, and the users or roles are nothing but what? The users who created the database. And examples here. So how we can granting particular privileges to the particular user on particular table, and how can give all privileges to the particular table to particular user, and how can we granting giving permission to all the public on particular table. The same way we can revoke the tables, we can revoke the DML operations from that particular user on particular table. Similarly, revoke all the privileges from particular table from particular user, and similarly revoking all on product on particular table from all the users. So this is the way of granting and revoking a process. And to do this all, what we need to do? We need to create the user. We need to create the user. Who will create the user? An administrator can create the user. Administrator only the person to create the user, and he only gives the privileges to the specific users also, and revoking the privileges also from the user. So how can we create? So create username identified by password. So how can we create the user? Create user1 identified by password user1. Similarly, see the list of users in database. So select user from mysql.user. And to see the current user, so select current underscore user. So this is the way of creating users and granting the privileges to the particular user, and revoking the privileges from the particular user on particular tables. So this is the way of understanding about all the DCL commands and queries. Thank you all.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.